Hi and welcome to Journey to a Dream with me, Beth Espy, and brought to you by Kawasaki Insurance. Do you know, the thing I love about this podcast series is that I've spoken so far to racers from all stages in their career, from those who haven't quite yet made it to a start line, to those newcomers who are looking forward to their first time, and also to people who do it time and time again, who come back to road racing here on the island because they simply just love it. And I would say that today's guest falls into that category.
I'm Dave Madsen-Mygdal. I've got to the ripe old age of 68 now, and I started racing fairly late. I didn't start racing until I was 25. I was fairly old, really. I always had bikes from when I was 10, but never started racing. But I've been doing the TT now, and the Manx and the TT since 81, and only missed twice with foot and mouth and COVID. My dad used to race back in the 50s, Clubman's TT in 53, and he raced for a sponsor up until the 60s. When I was younger, I was always about bikes. I had bikes around the field and everything. And I always wanted to race. And my dad said I was never really, I spent all my money on going out in cars and stuff like that. So he said I wasn't dedicated. I was working in Amsterdam at the time, and I went to the Dutch Grand Prix. I thought, that's it, I've got to start racing. So I left my job there and came back, and within 2 weeks I started racing. I've been racing ever since. That's in '79. I had bikes on the road and things like that, but you have to give up a lot of things if you want to go racing. It used to be a lot easier than what it is now, but I've still got the same passion for it, or not so much passion, but you get addicted to it. Your body needs it, the same as any sport you're doing, or even if you're exercising and you go to the gym, you still need it. You can't do without it.
I'm interested in what you said about the fact that it used to be easier. Do you mean in terms of things like the regulations and what you need to get to the start line?
Yeah, well, everything was easier. Life was easier back in the day, really. Now you've got health and safety with everything you do. Years ago, you used to just crack on. There's a lot of clubs about. Now it's got a lot more professional. People used to give up their time for free. That way it's changed. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things. It has got better.
When you remember your dad initially saying that you didn't have the dedication for it, do you think there was part of you that was almost initially maybe thought he was right, but then almost had something to prove about that?
He raced at a fairly high level, and he had friends that got killed racing, and that was one of the reasons he stopped. One of his teammates got killed in Germany, and he had the son the same age as me, and the wife blamed the bikes, but it wasn't the bikes, you know what I mean? It was just a race incident. So he wasn't really keen on helping me to go racing, and I can see why you wouldn't really want your son or your daughter to do something fairly dangerous. And of course, when you're young, you never think anybody's older knows what they're talking about.
What do you remember about the first time that you sat on the start line on Glencrutchery Road?
Yeah, I must. Now we have the newcomers weekends, and it's great. I came. It was 81, and I hadn't really done a lap. I had been round the circuit, and I'd been years ago when I was really young, but actually come back in 81. We came for the Southern 100, and I did a lap, but not a complete lap, and didn't really learn anything. So, of course, when we came in September, it was the first time on the grid. You're there first thing in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, it's dark and it's raining. It took me 45 minutes to do my first lap, and all I did was I followed the signs all the way round for the lap. And I got back in the morning, and we were camping at the time as well, and I thought, what have I done? I just couldn't believe, what I actually signed up for. Now we do the newcomers weekend. I help with coaching the newcomers. So now this is one good thing about it. It's got a lot more professional. As I say, before we just turned up and went, and that would be wind, rain. And now it's a lot safer. We don't race in the rain. We don't go out if it's foggy. I came off first year in practice on the last practice session. It was foggy up the mountain. There was someone who stopped on the side of the road at the bungalow, but I came through and it was that foggy I didn't see him till the last minute, so to miss him and avoid him I came off. I had to wait for the end of the practice session. I wasn't seriously hurt. I hurt me back, but put me in the ambulance, but I had to actually wait for the session to come back down. Now you wouldn't have that at all. You just wouldn't have gone. It wasn't that safe at all. Of course, now it only has to have a little drop of rain and we don't go. Everything's got better that way, but it must be hard for the organisers. They're getting their information from people at different places, so that information needs to be correct on the start line. But yeah, it was a hard call for this year's TT. But we didn't lose that many sessions, really, and the calls were good. And there was a lot of people in the paddock that said, oh, we should have gone. Can't see why we haven't. And then, of course, the next 15 minutes it starts to rain. So, but it's difficult here because the weather can change one side to the island to the other in a split second. Now, they must have a hard job up at the tower, and they're always going to get slagged off anyway, so...
Your accent, many people will realise, is not a Manx one, but you live over here now. How did that all come about?
Well, it was just coming racing. We got rained out of the tent on the second day and we went and got a guest house. My wife now, she answered the door. There's 4 of us stayed at the guest house. And over the years, like 4 years, I got to know Jill better and everything. And I started to see Jill. And then we ended up getting married. So she came back to live in Oxford with me. It's very hard if you don't know anybody. So we come over here. 86 I moved over, so I've been here ever since. So
you've got something to thank the Manx weather for then?
Well, yeah, I must admit Jill's good. She's terrific. Puts up with a lot for me, really, especially with racing and everything.
And was she interested in bikes at all before she met you?
Not excessively interested. Her mum and dad moved over and got a guest house. She was at art college. And then she came over and then she stayed over here. You know, she has been very supportive of us.
And that's hugely important, isn't it? Because you need that person in your life to be really tolerant of everything that this sport demands of you.
I am really lucky. She's very supportive. And we've, of course I lost my son down at the Southern 100 as well, but we supported him. So she's lost a lot with the sport. And she's never said I have to pack up or anything. And it's like our grandson Connor, he wants to start racing now, or he wants to start going motocross, but I've sort of like took a back step and I'm not really going to get involved. And I've said, but it's basically as I said to my dad, I said, you've got to find your own money to go racing, not just giving it on a plate, you know what I mean? So that's the next, he wants a motocross bike, so I said, you have to get yourself a job and find the money to actually get going, and then we'll see about it.
So you mentioned your son Mark, you also have a son Paul as well. When Mark said that he wanted to get into motorcycle racing, did you have the same reservations perhaps that your dad did at that point?
Oh yeah, well I've got 2 sons. I've got Paul and I had Mark. Paul was the older son, was never really bothered into bikes at all. Really, he had a bike, but he wasn't into. He was more interested in going skating and stuff like that. But Mark was always about with me. And so of course he got him a little scramble bike. He did the automatics, then he did big wheel scrambling. We went karting as well, so I was trying to get him into karting, which is safer. But no, he wanted to go on the track, so I let him have my 400, and it went on from there. But he was really good. He did a lot of media work and did fundraising nights and everything. He was keen, and he really worked hard at everything he did. But of course, then I was helping him as much as I could. But I was very reserved at the start of it. When he was racing, I'd be really nervous, terrible. And it's even like the newcomers or people that come and race in our team as such. To look after somebody and look after the bike and it goes out, you're worrying a lot more than you would do on it for yourself. You don't think about it. But when you're there in the pit road and you're waiting for someone to come round and they don't come round or something, it's nerve-wracking.
And I guess it gives you that sense of seeing it from other people's point of view, your team, your wife who's waiting for you to come back.
No, it's hard. It's like now Jill helps out up at the race office, but when I'm racing she just goes back to the van. She just stays at the van. She used to come at the pit, but she doesn't bother now. She just sits in the van. And then I take my phone with me as well, so if when the race was red flag, and so I can phone up them straight away, and so it's okay, I'm okay. It's down to communication. If an accident or a red flag does go up or whatever, it's important for everybody to know what's going on, and quickly as well. Sometimes it always seems a bit slow coming through, but there is a lot to do before you can announce anything. It does help being, knowing what's going on.
You have said that after Mark died in 2013 that people asked you, why didn't you pack up racing then? Are you able to answer that question?
It's hard really, because it seems pointless. If I said, well, I did encourage them. I didn't encourage. I was never a father saying, "Go on, go quicker, go quicker, go quicker." I've never ever said that. You just got to do it till you enjoy it. I still enjoy everything now, racing. So it'd be very, I don't know, hypocritical or whatever if I to pack up doing something like I loved. He wanted to do it. It was just unfortunately he got killed. It's difficult. You know what I mean? It does change your life. And there's a lot of riders, pleasant riders, who have lost their son racing. It's a club you don't want to belong to. And I think you've all got respect for each other because you've all gone through it. But you're still involved with the motorcycle family.
I guess this goes back to what you said right at the beginning, that for you, for those people who really give their all to be on the start line, whether that's financial, mental, whatever, it is almost an addiction to this sport.
It is an addiction. I've got too many addictions. I smoke and I shouldn't do, and I suppose I drink, but I don't drink. I'm not an excessive drinker, but I could give up drinking. That wouldn't bother me at all. Smoking, I'm trying to pack up at the moment, and I'm finding that difficult. You look in the garage and you think, I should be out there tonight, but you go back out in the garage. After TT, it took us like 3 days to pack up. And I've only just finished sorting stuff out, tools and thing, and now we're getting ready for the Manx. So it is a hard sport. It takes a lot of time.
Would you be able to maybe give us a sense of what a year for you looks like when you've got thinking about TT and MGP? Because I think for people, they love the spectacle of these road racing events when they're on, but might not really understand what goes into making them happen for an individual like you.
The thing is, you've got Derby, which is a fantastic venue. The club is really working well now. There's some very good riders up there, younger lads, and it's good to see. If you were starting off, you've got Derby, and so you've got like 6 or 7 meetings up there. I don't really do Derby so much now, but it's good for the newcomers. And it's good to get your training. It's a good circuit, really, to get trained up before you go away spending that type of money. But just to see if you like the sport. And if you're lucky and you don't like it, and you'll go off and do something else. But if you're lucky enough to enjoy it, then you're hooked then. And then you go away and do whatever you really want to do. But it's like now. It's like getting a job now when you go racing. Your normal job is not going to pay for go racing. So you need now more, people to help you. The money involved now. One bike's not too bad. I only race the twin now, and it's not too bad. Classic racing we do, but everything's done to a budget. But if you want to be up the front, you have to do everything. And it's like the media work. You've got to do that. Try to raise money. Whereas before, it wasn't like that. I know, it's just one of those things you get hooked on, and that's it.
And in terms of getting the money you need together, how have you found that over the years in terms of, I suppose, asking people for things like sponsorship and supporting you financially?
Yeah, I've done fairly well over the years, but it's funny now because I've still got the same lads that help me out now as I did when I first started racing. And we've had a couple have gone through the way up, but most of them have died off. And now we're sort of like all of our team are old, you know what I mean? So we've all sort of like retired. But now we manage it, and I was going to say, with the budget we got, I don't think we do a bad job. Even if you were younger, or if I was younger, to actually be at the sharper end, to be in the top 15, you've got to spend some serious money. So you need to get the money involved to get that. You can be good, you can be really good as a rider, but if you haven't got everything that goes with it, the people to help you, even on the day, putting the bike through scrutineering, just going and getting wheels and tyres, putting stuff up the paddock. It's not just one thing. It's not just the rider. It's the whole team that you've got to have behind you.
And you're really hands-on, aren't you? So you'll be tinkering with the bike as well.
Well, I think that's the trouble. That's a lot of it. I'm not tight. People say I'm tight, you know what I mean? But I'm not tight. I'm just careful. The thing is, I'd be a mechanic as well. I don't pay anybody to do my engine work. Slick helps me out. I go up to Slick and everything. But I don't pay someone to build my engines for me. So there's another, I save money on that way. Perhaps that's not the best way of doing it, but it's catch-22. You either got to go to work to earn the money and pay someone else to do it, But of course, that means you've got to get well. It's difficult. It's like anything. You've got to cut your cloth.
Do you keep a note of how many TT starts you've had?
I haven't never bothered. The Ian Huntley, he TT fan. He does all the numbers, and Fred Clark, who used to be BSB commentator, and that, he phoned me up last year. He was doing an article and everything. So I think last year it was 211 starts on the mountain circuit. That included the Manx and everything. For the TT, I think now it's 151 starts at the TT, 130 finishes. Best result at the TT I had in the senior has been 11th. On the 400 class, I've had a couple of 4th, 5th, 6th. And the Manx, I did win the 750 class. I must admit, I'd rather have less starts and finishes and better results, you know what I mean? But that's the trouble with the Isle of Man. You always want to come back and do better than you did the year before. And that's what you try to do. It's like I took a newcomer out, well, not a newcomer, he was new in 19 and he came off. And he came back last year to do the Manx. And he did the newcomers weekend. And he finished last year and he was happy. He went round 100 mile an hour. So this year he got put another entry in this year, and he's come back last week and he's doing some more training laps and see how it goes. And basically that's what he wants to do. He got hooked that first time. I had an Italian riding for us last year, and he came off in practice. He got knocked off by someone else. It wasn't really his fault, but the two of them involved, and he went over the side. But he wasn't injured that much, so he did actually get to race, and he was all keen to come back again this year. But they're having a baby. It turned out now that it wasn't really planned, but it was going to be born Manx week, so he's had to cancel his this year. He reckons he can't wait to come back, but we shall have to see on that one.
With all the work you do with the newcomers, I just wonder how responsible you feel for them when they're out there.
Oh, you do, really. It was like last year, down at the Southern, George asked me if I'd take the newcomers round. It's the safety side of it, and you know how dangerous it is and everything. And unfortunately, like last year, I told one of the lads, just be careful. The first couple of laps, I said, Church Bends is really bad, it's slippy or whatever. Down they went, so there was one off there. And then you make a point of trying to tell people where the accident did happen down the Southern. And I felt really bad, but I had actually told them what to expect or what to do. And I felt really bad over that. And if you're looking after newcomers, sometimes they don't want to listen. They don't quite grasp it, you know what I mean?
Do you think you would have listened?
I think I would have done. You always have to work out yourself whether you expect the person you're talking to. There'll be always someone that just talks a load of rubbish. And it doesn't take you long to work them ones out, really. But no, you should listen to everything, what everybody says, and then just take your own little bit of advice from everybody.
So who was it that you looked up to or listened to when you were starting out?
I listened to my dad so much, as you do. But I had a lot of good races round our way down in Oxford. And the club I used to race for, the North Gloucester and Long Marston, they used to do social nights, and you listen to them. And they're obviously good because you've done one meeting. You listen to them, they're the boys in front you can't catch. So they're obviously slightly better than you. And yes, you get to a level, you can get onto their level. Take a little bit of knowledge from everybody. If they've been doing the job before you, they're going to know a lot more than you.
And you started out thinking about the 1980s. When there were some real legends in this sport around you, and were you aware of that? Do you think?
The first time I ever came was in '66. I came with my dad, and I can remember Howard and Agostini racing. I can remember the race of the year with John Cooper and and those little things. And then, of course, I got an autograph book, which I started off like in '66, and then my mum took it over, and it's a hell of an autograph book.
Have you still got it?
Oh yeah, I've still got it. It's got Altavera, Howard, all the ones through, all the way up until like 10 years ago. She used to get all the signatures and all that. But going back, I used to race a lot, do the roads in Ireland, and a lot of the lads that I used to race with aren't about now. I'm in the same race as Michael, right? Not in the same league as Michael, but I used to race with his dad. And when I was riding the 400s, the 125s and 400s used to go together. Didn't do too bad. And with Joey, when we were running the RC30s, I wasn't quite in that league, but I was maybe at the Ulster I was coming 9th or 10th, so I was still around that time. But yeah, I've raced with a lot of people that aren't here now. Yeah, it's a long time in the sport anyway. But I don't think I've got any slower. I think more sensible. You're not really going to try as hard as you used to. You're only going to go well if everything's well on the day.
I guess that's the thing that comes with experience of the course, isn't it? And you know what your end goal is. And when we think about, you're talking about how many TT starts you've had and finishes. I mean, there aren't really very many that you haven't finished when you look at it overall. And it's one of the reasons that a pair of filmmakers over here wanted to document your career, because I imagine, just talking to you, Dave, that you're not the sort of person who would see yourself in the same league as some of the people that you've talked about. But that is how you're seen, and that's why they wanted to follow you around. How did you find that whole documentary process?
I was asked if I wanted to be president of the TT Riders Association. It's a charity. Going back years when Dad was a member of the TTRA, but they used to have a dinner every year in Birmingham. And they have a chain of office as well, so it's like a big mare chain. And I used to go to the dinners, and it was all very well turned out. Everybody's smart, people's wives go. And there's usually like maybe 500 people going. But it was a really nice luncheon and everything. It was great. And then they asked me if I'd be president. And I thought, really? Oh, yeah. But and then you look at the chain of office, and you look at all the names that have been on there before you, and you think, I'm not even in that league. I don't even know why I've been asked to be in there. And you think to yourself, and you take that, but it's the same as the film. There was 2 or 3 lads they went down and asked if they were interested in doing it. Anyway, they came back to us, Dave, we said, we want to do a film about you. So it started like in COVID time, or just before COVID. It should have been really finished in 19, but it wasn't. So of course we've had 2 years off. The film's ongoing from there, but they're just 2 lads that really want to get into media work or filming. I think they've done a fairly good job, but now they want to take it to a film festival to just clean it up a little bit, and that's what they're trying to do now, is try to raise the funds to actually get into a studio to improve the colour, the sound, compress it slightly, and there's like parts from this year's TT which will be included and everything. So the fundraising they're doing, I'm not getting paid anything. It's just, it was just the thing of doing it. Now you go to the web page and it costs you £7.50 and you can watch it twice. But that's the only way. They can't do a GoFundMe page for some reason. I'm not quite sure, but that's the only reason how they can do it. And hopefully they get enough money up together. But it's funny because everybody that's watched it has said it's a really good film. But I did have a complaint last week. A lad phoned me up and said he could only watch it on his phone, and he didn't really want to watch it on his phone. But then again, technology is not my best thing, you know what I mean? So I'm not very good. I could get it on my phone, and I could find it, and I could open it, and I could watch it. But actually to put it up on the screen on the TV, that's out of the question. I can't do that.
You need to get your grandson in. He'll know how to do it.
Well, yeah, that's it. I'm still on cables.
I would love to have been in the room when you watched it, though, for the first time, seeing your reaction to seeing you on the screen.
It's cringing because you don't think you sound like you do, and then you see yourself. It's a bit like if I'm out and you've gone out for the night and everything, you don't really think you look like you do. Of course, you walk past the mirror and you think, oh, what is? And of course you're out with a load of young lads, or people from in their 20s or 30s, and you end up thinking you're that age, and you're not, and you look at you think, well, what the hell are you doing, you silly old fool, drink for drink and everything, it's stupid.
Well, we're going to put a link to the film on the podcast page. As you mentioned earlier, we're just a few weeks now away from MGP 2024. So I imagine it's a busy time getting everything together and thinking about how this meeting is going to look. Have you got an idea in your head at this point of what success for the MGP this year is going to be for you? The
Manx is sort of like one of the biggest meetings, really. We're still fairly competitive in the classes we actually race in. So we have the 350, the 500 Classic, and on average for the last 10 years we finish in the top 10. And the 350, they stopped that a couple of years ago, and we were always in the top 7 in that. So those 2 classes we're fairly competitive. The lightweight, which we've been running. Well, last year we run the 400, came 13th in that. I can get my best positions at the Manx. So it is a big, busy time. I ride a 350 and a 500. They have 2 lads from across. They bring the bikes over for me to ride that. So they'll be ready to go. Unless anything goes wrong with them, I won't really touch the bikes. I've got my 400, so I'm busy doing that. I've got an Australian newcomer. He's coming over, and he's be riding for us as well. So there's a lot of things to do and get built before we start now. And it won't take long to come round.
Have you got bike parts all over the house?
Oh, all over. You can't. From tidying up, it took us 3 days to get packed up from the TT, and then you got all your tools to tidy up and put stuff away. And even my garage now, I only got a small garage, and you got to sort of like sidestep round everything. But we'll get there in it. We'll get the engines built, and we're going to say it's the Southern next week, and it certainly won't take long to come round for the Manx. It's only really about 5 weeks away, really, isn't it?
And have you got any involvement in the Southern this year?
No, I don't. I find it very hard. I did race down there the year after, just on the same bike as Armagh raced and won on at the TT. We did the classic post-TT. Just for myself, really, but it was too much for Jill, really. She was very emotional, so I said that I'd never race down Southern again, which I haven't done. But it feels very strange to go down the paddock, so I haven't done that. I did help out last year with taking the newcomers round. So, no, I'll give the Southern a bit of a miss. I want to go to Castle Combe at the end of July just to test the bikes as well.
The great thing is, I mean, you're talking about the Australian newcomer that you've got coming over for MGP. There are still people who are passionate about getting onto that start line. And if any racers are listening, Dave, and they're thinking, I don't even know where to start, but the ultimate dream is to race on the mountain course over here, what would be the best advice you could give them, do you think?
I think a lot of it is get in touch with the Manx Motorcycle Club. They'd be really helpful. Heather, who's his secretary and that, she would point everybody in the right direction. We have the Howard Foundation as well. They help the newcomers out. And there's a lot of people who get a lot of support. So if someone is interested, is get in touch with the organisers of the Manx Grand Prix and go from there. We have the ACU have taken over the training side of it. But it's still the same. If someone wants to come over now, it is that much easier. You have to put the effort in to get here, but it's a lot better because at least you know. It's not so bad if you've been with someone else and you've seen what's gone on and worked in the pit and you know what goes on. But if you're coming at as a stranger and you've only just seen it on TV and you think, oh, I'd like to do it. If you got in touch with the Manx Motorcycle Club, at least you'd know where you're going. You come over for your weekend, and it just make life that much more, easier. But you got the lads from. I said we had the Italian last year. We've had an American the year before, and that's a lot of commitment for them to come over and do it. And like the Australian lad, he's coming over. We had the newcomers weekend in March, but he didn't come over for that one. But we had the second newcomers, so he's coming over for that. But he's also staying now until the end of the Manx. So his commitment to do that is he's here for 2 months. So he's packed his job in and he's come over. So that's a big commitment just to do that race. But there's a lot of lads that do that, at TT. There's another American, he was over. So there is people want to come from a long distance. There's a lot of lads from Mexico and that want to come. But of course we've got insurance problems. That's where a lot of the thing is now at the moment with insurances. But there's a lot of interest over it. You wouldn't believe how many people or especially I've got a big Spanish following, and you wouldn't believe it. You know what I mean? I've been over to Spain. Oh yeah. You think you'd be in the Isle of Man, you're only very small. I don't really do Facebook, but I have got a Facebook page, but I don't post anything, and not as much as I should do really. But the following I got is you can't believe it. We put one thing and put new leathers on, and it was 17,000 views. The most we've had is that we're starting one of the bikes up, 22,000 views. So media's made a big difference, you know what I mean? Like with the TT, with having the television now, it's going out worldwide. That's made a big difference to people wanting to come.
Do you find yourself stopped in the street?
I have been, yeah. Even like last time we were over in Spain testing, there's a lad at the airport come up and say, I know your face. I see you I went to Galicia for one weekend to a motorcycle revival, and I'd met him there, and then on and in a different part in Spain, and he's there, and he said, "Oh, I recognise you."
You mentioned Mexico. Were you involved in the Cane Road race over there?
Yeah, I went in 18 or 19. That's something else.
That's incredible, isn't it? Again, this place that's so far away. You know, the Isle of Man almost making its mark over there.
Oh, you wouldn't believe where the Cane Road races are. It's the other side of Mexico, so it's on the other side of the coast. But you wouldn't believe how many people come for this event. But it's not a road race. It's on the road, but it's a downhill event for 40 odd mile downhill. Health and safety is definitely not one of their high points. You know what I mean? But they're so keen. It's unreal. But it was amazing how many people got tattoos of the Isle of Man on them. And there's a lot of the lads that come over from Argentina and all that. Like for the TT this year, there was a group over, or 2 groups over from Argentina. It's worldwide, you wouldn't believe. But in Mexico, the lads that come over there and the lads that go, I went there with Jill, they invited us over. And it was definitely an eye-opener. I just couldn't believe. We rode from the town up to the top of the circuit, and it's 6,000 foot where the race starts. You ride up through all the forests, and it's beautiful scenery. It's not really a race, but they take it as a race. They just live in a different world. They're there for a week, and they're practicing on the open road. It's not shut off. And then, of course, it's shut off, and it's one way on race day. But they've luckily got away without any fatalities. You know what I mean? But they have over 100 people starting the race, and you have the police there, the army are there. It is definitely an eye-opener, totally different way of life.
Sounds like it. I just wanted to mention the Andres Racing Association over here, because you've talked a lot about, you know, people getting in touch with people who've been through it, and those relationships, I guess, that you build with people who understand what you do and why you do are really important. And to have that sort of group over here, especially for the homegrown talent that we have, must be really important.
I think now the Andres Racing is really good, and you got Gary that looks after the training school and everything. The actual thing we got now at Derby is really good. It's easy to get onto a track day, so someone can go there, and that way you don't have to have a race licence and all that. So you can go and see if you want to have a go, and then if you want to go it properly, then you can go to the Andrews too, and you can get in touch with them through their web page or their website. Linda and Neil and Jason, all that, they'll look after you. If you got in touch with them and said, look, I want to come up, they'll tell you how to go about it. And that is a really helpful, really good club now. It's really running really well for a newcomer to come into racing and get into it. And if you go up there to Derby now, for a very small island, there's a lot of people that race. Yeah, it's like everything. Some things go off for a while and then come back. But no, at the moment the club is thriving and it's really good. I don't think they could do any more than what they're doing now, but I suppose the circuit could be improved, but it would mean spending more money on it, getting maybe a decent lease for it, so that would make a difference how much money you could get people to put into. I think there's wasted money from the government side of point of view. There is a revenue to be made from Derby, and perhaps the government don't make the best of use from it, especially when you consider the price to hire Alton Park or Murray Park, and you've got everything for testing over here. So I think they could do a lot more with a little bit of investment. They could do a lot more with it.
Well, Dave, it's been brilliant talking to you. We wish you all the very best for the MGP. No doubt there'll be a microphone or two shoved in your face at the start line. In terms of TT next year, dare I ask what your plans are yet?
I must admit, we had a disappointing TT this year. I spent a fair bit of money on engines built by other people, and they weren't as good as what they were supposed to have been. I was hoping for top 20, and I think the best we got was 32nd or something, and both engines we had were definitely below par. I was disappointed, but no, I think if we're still fit and healthy, definitely TT, it'd be exactly the same. We'd just be looking for the same. We'll have another regroup, spend some more money, and we'll get a better, more competitive bike for next year. But yeah, I expect to be on the grid again. We'll just have to wait and see.
Will you be a non-smoker this time next year?
Well, I did get down to 5 yesterday. But me and the wife had definitely said we're going to pack up smoking. But it is hard. You're smoking all your life to actually stop. But no, it would be. I must admit, I would be fitter if I don't stop smoking. I would have a bit more money in my pocket as well. So we'll see.
Dave, thank you so much for talking to us.
Okay, thanks for inviting me.
Thank you so much to Dave for speaking to me there, and best of luck with MGP and also giving up the smoking as well. Not an easy thing to do, but what a fascinating insight into just why he loves road racing on the Isle of Man so much. This podcast is brought to you by Kawasaki Insurance, so to find out how you can get covered, just go to kawasaki-insurance.co.uk. And if you'd like to be part of this podcast, do let me know. BethSB@manxradio.com is the email address. And until next time, take care. Bye-bye.